Ask someone what the flag of Northern Ireland is and they'll likely point to this design. But in fact, this is not the official flag of Northern Ireland, or as it's called there, a flag! Indeed, the only official flag of Northern Ireland is this one. Now you might be saying, hey, this looks awfully familiar, and if you had to do a spot the difference competition between this flag of Northern Ireland and the Union flag used to represent the United Kingdom, you'd be pretty hard pressed. In fact, they are one and the same. Northern Ireland doesn't have an official own flag that it can fly apart from the Union flag. So why is this the case when all the other constituent parts, England, Scotland, Wales, all do have their own flags? Well, let's find out. To find out, we need to go back to 1921, the end of a particularly bloody conflict between Irish Republicans and the British Army. Conceding defeat in a growing guerrilla war, the British nonetheless decided to try and hold on to part of the island of Ireland in the north. This was an area that in the 17th and 18th centuries had been extensively settled by largely Protestants coming from England and Scotland, an area that did not wish to become part of an independent Irish state. And so when the southern counties of Ireland became a free independent state, the northern counties, the 6 counties, remained a part of the United Kingdom, as was voted on by the Parliament of the North. However, there was still a large proportion of Catholics in this population who did want a united Ireland together, even after this date. It's to represent this state in 1924 that the Ulster banner was designed, and that is the name of this flag that is associated with Northern Ireland. And it is in turn based on an older flag from a coat of arms that represented Ulster, one of the traditional regions of Ireland, a traditional province, which encompasses Northern Ireland and a few states that belong to what is now the Republic of Ireland. This flag of Ulster goes back to the coat of arms of the de Burgh family. This de Burgh family was an important Norman family that had settled in the north in Ulster already in the Middle Ages. And on top of their coat of arms, they also placed the red hand of Ulster. This was an even older symbol that already goes back to the times of Gaelic poetry, and which was remembered there and added to their coat of arms. The de Burgh family is particularly interesting because they weren't active only in Ireland, but also in England and Scotland. And in fact, it was Walter de Burgh who became the first Earl of Ulster as appointed by the English king. And in fact, his granddaughter, Elizabeth de Burgh, married Robert the Bruce and is shown in the film The Outlaw King, which I discuss in this video about the languages that he is likely to have spoken. But going back to the modern day, the Ulster banner was used to represent Northern Ireland, the part of the island of Ireland that remained with the United Kingdom. However, between 1924 and 1969, tensions continued to simmer between the Protestant majority and the Catholic minority. And things would bubble over in the period of history known as the Troubles, or in Irish, Na Triploidy. These troubles pit the largely Protestant and loyalist community who wish to remain a part of the United Kingdom against the largely Catholic Republican minority who wish to become part of a united Ireland together with the Republic of Ireland. Things really came to a head in 1972 with the events remembered to history as Bloody Sunday, in which British paratroopers killed unarmed protesters. As a result of the outcry and backlash against this and other actions in a larger civil rights movement, the Sunningdale Agreement was signed between various parties in Northern Ireland. This replaced the Protestant-dominated government that had sat before at Stormont, and the government that was represented by this flag was dissolved, meaning that rule over Northern Ireland would instead be directed directly from the United Kingdom, which is why the United Kingdom's flag, the Union flag, became the official flag of Northern Ireland too. However, that didn't mean that this flag ceased to be used in any context in Northern Ireland, and in fact it was frequently used by loyalist paramilitaries and others supportive of Northern Ireland's position in the United Kingdom. Indeed, if you look at many of their different flags from different paramilitary groups and other organisations, they very frequently feature insignia from the Ulster banner, particularly the Red Hand of Ulster, which is now largely seen as a loyalist symbol, despite having its origins in Gaelic history. In 1998, the Good Friday Agreement largely ended the conflict known as the Troubles. However, the flag that had been used for Northern Ireland was not reinstated for several reasons, and instead the only flag that is official to Northern Ireland remains the United Kingdom's flag, even though rule over Northern Ireland has returned to Stormont. So why is this the case? Why wasn't the Ulster banner reinstated or a new flag designed? Well, there's several complications to this. As part of the Good Friday Agreement, people in Northern Ireland could decide whether they wished to identify as British and have British citizenship, or as Irish with Irish citizenship, or a combination of the two. This is seen, however, in sports, where there are different configurations for how Northern Ireland is grouped. In football, just as the other constituent nations of the United Kingdom, and indeed the Republic of Ireland, it has its own football team, and they are represented by the Ulster banner in football. And I think that's why many people see the Ulster banner as Northern Ireland's flag, even though this officially isn't the case. However, if we look at rugby, we can see that all of Ireland, both Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland, play together on a single team, and that's why they're represented by a non-national flag, again incorporating these coats of arms from the traditional provinces of Ireland. The same is true for cricket, where Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland play together. And in the Olympics, it's a little more complicated, because with the situation of citizenship in Northern Ireland, people can choose whether they wish to play on Team GB for Great Britain, or whether they wish to play for the Republic of Ireland. And so you could have athletes that are competing for either nation. In Gaelic sports, which isn't an international sport, but in the leagues that are played, the entire island of Ireland is together in 4 different leagues. Again, the Northern Ireland and several of the northern provinces of the Republic come together under the province of Ulster and play in that league there. So again, we have a different split that we can see between Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland. Many people in Northern Ireland feel very strongly about either of these flags, that being the former flag of Northern Ireland, the Ulster banner, and the Irish tricolour, the official flag of the Republic of Ireland to the south. Many attempts have been made to create a new flag for Northern Ireland that better represents the Catholic minority, soon probably to be majority, of people that live there. And so they've tried to combine various elements, but the colour scheme is rather difficult to combine, and indeed many people feel very strongly about either adopting an official flag, recreating the Ulster banner in some way, reinstating the Ulster banner, and so it's quite difficult to come to any sort of conclusion, which is probably why it's been largely left alone until now. Personally, these are some designs I found online, and I think these two for me are probably the best options, given that they best blend symbolism from both communities, the former Ulster banner, the St. Patrick's saltire, and various colours together in a rather aesthetically pleasing design. But you can let me know in the comments below what you think of either of these designs, or whether you have a different one in mind. So that is the story of Northern Ireland's flag. I hope it's been interesting. I know I've covered things about a lot of different flags on this channel before, or flags, I should really say, for this topic. And indeed about Northern Ireland's flag, about the flag of the Republic of Ireland, and what happened to the old harp flag, and what the symbolism behind the tricolour is. So let me know in the comments below if you've learned something new, if you saw those videos as well, or if you knew a lot about this topic already. And what do you think? Do you think the government in Northern Ireland should push for a flag that is inclusive of both of these segments of the population? Or should they perhaps create a flag that is with completely new symbolism, that doesn't go back to any symbolism associated with either? With then the issue being, well, who does it represent? I'm all ears. Let me know in the comments below. And until the next time, I have been Hilbert.